Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. Welcome to the Artcast.
And guess where we are?
We're in our favorite place, a winery.
A winery. We are in Walla Walla, Washington.
And this is my absolute first time I've ever been here.
Which is amazing to me that you've never been here
I know.
before.
I think I've driven by Walla Walla on way to somewhere else. And I've always heard of Walla Walla. And truly, some of the best wine I've ever had is from Walla Walla. Mm-hmm. And we actually met this person that we're going to interview later at our friend Krista and Robbie French's place, Stylist, and
in Coeur d'Alene.
In Coeur d'Alene, and so we were lucky to have this set up. So
yes.
we chose this area to.
And Krista, if you're listening, we wish you were here.
Yes, we really do, because you're a kick in the butt too. We have so much fun with Krista and Robbie, but it's so fun to be here, and what a great town. I mean, I love the downtown. I love all the buildings, the different styles, and just all the shops, and it's just.
I want to move here.
Yeah, I think it's a cool place.
It's a cool place.
Yeah, and it's not that far from us, so
no,
it was an easy drive, and we're happy to be here.
We are happy to be here.
And we had the best flatbread. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Where was that?
That was at one of the wineries in
Kendall. What was it called?
Earl.
I don't know.
Winery.
Anyway, it was really close to where we are. It was really good.
Yeah. Really
anyway,
good.
Great.
It had
food.
Artichokes, so I love it.
Yeah,
anything
it was
with
delicious.
On it.
So we've had a blast so far.
Well, I have a funny. Well, it's kind of an enlightening story, a wine story. Okay. My husband and I went wine tasting in Virginia. And Virginia is like this up-and-coming wine country. Still new, so, they're still practicing.
Yeah. Okay.
Their wines, we only found one that we thought was worthy of buying a bottle out of a bajillion. But we were at this one winery, and we're standing up at the counter, and the wine pourer was talking to us about where we were from, and we said we were from Idaho and that we were used to drinking wines from the Columbia Valley. And she literally bowed to us.
Oh, that's nice.
And said, that is where the most spectacular wines come from.
And hence, that's why we're here.
And that's why we're here.
So I think we should just get right to it.
I do too.
So here we are at DAMA Winery, and we are with the founder, and there's so much to hear about, Mary Darby.
Yes, Mary, thank you for having us.
Well, thank you, and welcome to Walla Walla and to DAMA. I'm very excited to talk with you gals, and it was so fun meeting you and being in Coeur d'Alene a couple weeks ago. And Stylist Wine Bar was fantastic. I had no idea I would be working so hard. In a good way.
It was very busy that
It
night.
was very busy.
That was
so much fun.
That my birthday week.
That's right.
Yeah, that cake was delicious. Whoever made that,
that's
it was delicious.
Janie made the cake. Oh yeah, that was good.
But it was fun, and Krista and Rob are, they're just two really awesome, and her sister as well.
Oh yes.
Jen?
Yeah. Is it Jen?
Jen.
I think it's Jen.
I think it's Jen.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I can't. She's like the dark
version.
version of Krista.
Exactly. What a team.
Yeah, they're
And
awesome.
then my friend Tom was with me, and he had to work as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great day.
It was packed, and I was trying to remember what wines you had because I'm supposed to buy one for Janie. So I'll have to remember.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But so tell us about yourself, Mary.
My goodness. Well, let's see. I've been living here for over 20 years now, 24 years. Actually, moved here in 2000. Never really thought that I'd be in the wine industry at this end of winemaking. Previous to moving to Walla Walla, I had been a wine director in Chicago in a restaurant, and then also worked in San Francisco back in the late 80s and early 90s in the highlight of San Francisco. But I worked with a lot of wonderful, great people, a lot of wonderful mentors, whether it was chefs to other wine directors. And at that time, especially during San Francisco, I was actually schooling myself to become an opera singer. So that was my, and my husband at that time was a photographer. So we both lived a very bohemian lifestyle, and in the art world, and the restaurant industry very much supplied me with the funds to and the time to create create the lifestyle that we wanted. And then, just really, when we moved to Chicago, we were there for about 4 years, and Devin's parents have their old wheat farming family.
Oh, okay.
So they started growing grapes in 94-ish, I think. So in 1999, they kind of put that proverbial carrot in front of us. Like, do you want to move to Walla Walla and let's, help start up the winery? Mm-hmm. We're like, we thought of it, like, why not?
Wow.
Why not? I know enough about wine, but do I know enough about winemaking? No, but we'll work with people. So we moved out here, and Devin came a few months earlier, but I had my son in September in Chicago in 2000. I moved like a month later. Harvest was already starting, and we bought a house basically sight unseen, for me anyway. Devin didn't know anybody here. Really, kind of dove into the wine world of Walla Walla, which was pretty minuscule at that time. It was probably only 25 wine, maybe 30, because I think Spring Valley Vineyard, we were the 28th or 9th bonded winery here in Walla Walla. So, and now there's probably 180. I don't know.
Gosh.
So within 20 some years, it's grown exponentially. And then, there's also numbers that have dropped off, wineries that have started out and are no longer here. It's grown so much, and been very fortunate to be a part of this. So when Devin and I started Spring Valley, we worked with a couple consultants. In 2004, he had an untimely accident, and then I lost him to, he had a fatal, it wasn't a fatal accident, but he lived for another 2 weeks. So I took time off. Wasn't right for me to kind of continue on with the family business, and my son was only 4, so I had the outer community of the wine industry really wrap their arms around me in so many ways that unbelievable. And they kind of corralled around me and kept me afloat, if you will, in so many different ways. And then in 06 or so, I thought, I better get back on the proverbial horse. What am I going to do here? And at that time, I met up with my initial business partner, Dawn Kammer, and she had just finished the enology program here. We got to talking, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden we're like, well, let's do this. We were crazy enough to say, let's go ahead and let's get into the wine industry. So DAMA initially started with that kind of seed of as 2 women in the industry, 2 different backgrounds, and how are we going to move forward with this. DAMA kind of initially, with my name being Mary and Dawn being DAWN, that's how
where it came.
DAMA. So the logo was a little bit more separated. It was DAMA, two separate little dots.
Right, gotcha.
And that made sense when it was just the 2 of us.
Right.
And then it meaning lady or woman in Spanish and a couple other languages and such.
Right.
So, and that was perfect.
Right.
So then my business partner Judith Schulman hopped on board a few years, I don't know when it was, maybe 2011 or so, 12, something like that. And Dawn decided she wanted to move back to California. We bought her out, and that's when we started revising the logo, all the different labels, the artwork that started kind of, we wanted it to be very female strength, power, but not too kitschy on some of the artwork. And it's just kind of grown from that. Yeah. And it's been fun to find pieces that speak to us, not only as women, but speak kind of even trying to connect that dot to my wine. And a lot of the artists have been friends of mine, or pieces that we've bought and gotten the rights to use. And so that's been such a fun journey. I think both Judith and I have really enjoyed that aspect of the business that gets my artistic brain moving and grooving. So that's kind of like the start. It was never really planned to be where I am right now. You know what I mean?
It just found you.
Isn't it funny how life just kind of happens sometimes?
Yeah. And I not that I would ever want to go through losing my husband, but it changed me, which anything does like that.
Of course.
But it made me a better person, made me a stronger person, and I wouldn't have started DAMA. So this would not, most likely would not be here.
Right.
And so I have to say thank you.
Right.
But, that still is, an interesting moment in time that you kind of go, okay, I got to move through this, and what am I going to do, and where am I going to find my happiness, and where does this all lead to? you know, which we never really have those answers. When you're on that path, you just kind of go, okay, I'm paddling down the river.
Right, moving forward.
Right.
Well, I love the art of the label, though, and I love that you pick women artists. And you can go on the site, and you actually have art of the label, and you explain some of the actual art on the bottles.
Who they are.
And who they are, which I think is so nice because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of time you just pick the wine because of the label.
I think that that's something that we really thought about, because women buy a lot of wine. We are the biggest consumer of wine, and we don't necessarily look at
so smart.
Exactly. Exactly. But we choose wines for different reasons. And we're not always looking at it because it's scored here, or it's $80, so it's got to be a good bottle of wine. There's a lot of different factors that we look into: what we're buying, how we're buying, who we're supporting, and yes, labels pay. I know, definitely.
It does, but it does catch your eye, which I love that, and I love the artwork that you've chosen to represent your wine. And so, speaking of your wine, so where are the grapes from?
So we don't, as a company, we don't own any vineyards. However, most wineries here in Walla Walla don't own their vineyards. I mean, yes, there are a number of estate-grown wine, vineyard wineries, but I would say 80% of us are buying fruit from all over. That doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm getting. Like, I've worked with some vineyards since 2010, so I have a great relationship. I know exactly what rows I'm getting. I know what this vineyard is going to give me, pretty much year to year. So that so a lot of it's just shaking of the hands. Like, yep, I'm going to take that 5 tons, or I have to actually sign a contract.
Right.
But it's fun. I love that because it kind of gives a diversity of what is grown here, not only in Walla Walla, but then Columbia Valley. Because Columbia Valley is like the big umbrella of the AVAs. And then we've got all these other smaller AVAs, whether it's Walla Walla to Snipes Mountain, Red Mountain, Yakima Valley, you name it. And, then within Walla Walla, then there's the smaller AVA called the Rocks District of Milton Freewater. So that's sub AVA of Walla Walla.
And tell us again what AVA
So it's American Viticulture
Right.
Association, I think.
Okay.
That's, yes. So to become...
So basically, an area like the Columbia Valley is divided up almost like a map of areas.
Yes. So to be able to become your own AVA, you have to submit, and I've never done, I don't know what all the paperwork, but I would... your area has to be so much different. Terroir, basically, like what is happening here that differentiates yourself from Yakima, or why is the Rocks District? Why were they able to become their own AVA? Because of what is, how different they are within that terroir, compared to, because most of this area here is all basalt and loess, so it's very fine and a little volcanic, but very fine, dusty. And so when you get to the Rocks districts, it's all stones upon stone, like all riverbed rock that was probably blown in from the Missoula floods a bazillion years ago.
Right. Okay.
So, and that's so there's not really much soil there.
Right.
And when you think of then how the vines have to kind of dig through the rocks to get moisture, to then you've got rocks that can also put characteristics into the plant. So it's very unique.
Yeah.
Very, very unique. And you can tell when you're drinking a Syrah from the rocks how different it is from anywhere else, which is so awesome.
Right.
Wow.
Well, speaking of that, your harvest is coming up here
It
pretty
is
soon, isn't it?
Yes. It's looking good. Now, August is kind of cooling off. So at first I thought like July we had a lot of heat factors. I'm sure it was the same way in Coeur d'Alene, over 100.
Crazy.
Oh, man, it was
a lot. So now, and so things were kind of speeding up, and we had somewhat of an unusual winter where we did have some frost, and so there are some vineyards that got hit. So some of the actually amount of fruit that I'll be getting, the tonnage is a lot smaller in some areas than in other vineyards. But I would say I'll be harvesting, let's see, what is it, August, month or so, month and a half. I'm still like, I don't need to go to vineyards right now. It's okay. Things are there's nothing there for me to worry about.
Right. Do you actually go out and participate in the harvest?
Oh, yes. I'm not there picking, but I'm there weeks ahead of time just checking or seeing what the grapes are like. And then when I know like it's going to be close, I'm going out there tasting. And I do it just buy, like I can tell now just through the taste of the grape whether or not I want to
Oh, wow.
pick or how soon I want to pick.
wait.
Or wait. Or then you have to look at the weather, like, oh, is there going to be rain tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or in 3 days? And so there's a lot of little factors like that you start kind of looking at and going, how long can I let the grapes hang? And that's what I like. I like having a lot of hang time because that brings really wonderful characteristics to the grape, although it brings also the bricks, the sugar level up.
Right.
And then that translates to alcohol. But you can manipulate that in the winery, but I can't add flavor.
Right.
Because that's the grape. That's
True.
Right.
So that's that. But every winemaker has his or her own idea of what style of wine they want.
Right. So
maybe they want to pick early because they're going to make this style over here, or they're waiting to till the last minute. So
what are the grapes that you go for?
I do I do a Grenache Blanc as my white, a Cab Franc for a rosé, and then I do a Grenache, a couple different Syrahs, a little Mourvedre for the GSM. I do a Merlot Cab, 100% Grenache. I've done Tempranillo in the past, but no, I don't do that every year. So so yeah, mainly reds, but I do like there's more and more whites being grown here, whether in Walla Walla to Columbia Valley. So I like to have that a little white in the program as well. So.
Greetings, listeners of the Allie and Callie Artcast podcasts. This is Jason from Tubbs Coffee Roasters. Keeping art alive and culture relevant is the heart and soul of our community of creatives. And as a local coffee roaster who loves a good origin story of a painter or a farmer or a musician, we proudly support the Allie and Callie's Artcast podcast's expansion and exploration through positive conversation. So grab a cup of coffee, preferably one from Tubbs Coffee Roasters, and tune in, humans. Your ears will thank you.
Add a little flair to your special events with Scraps Barbecue, a great catering choice for your next gathering. Specializing in golf tournaments, sporting events, weddings, and other family-friend gatherings, their commercial kitchen can be on site, or you can choose to have a fully catered meal delivered right to you. Known for their authentic Santa Maria-style tri-tip and tequila lime fish tacos, they can customize the menu to meet your needs for groups of 20 to 2,500. Contact Kevin at kevin@scrapsbarbecue.com or check them out on Facebook.
The characteristics from the rocks is just like you get this minerally, especially in Syrah. Syrah is like this varietal that just kind of takes on everything that it's grown from, and you certainly taste that. And then a Syrah from the Rocks district, you get this really dark brambly fruit to black licorice, very saline, very almost sometimes barnyard as well. It all depends on the style of the winemaker, how far they want to go that direction. But yeah, and sometimes either you love it or you don't.
Right.
That's the beauty of
I
wine.
love a Syrah. You know what? I haven't met a Syrah I didn't like. I don't think so.
Right?
I really don't think I have. Anyway, so what is your personal favorite of your Damas? Do you have one?
Well, I hate to say there's a
I mean, I
am leaning so much more towards Grenache and Grenache blends.
Okay.
To me, Grenache is just this very, it's a beautiful wine. It's food friendly. It's just easy to drink. It's never really heavy tannic unless you're using more new oak within the program. But I think that Grenache to me doesn't need a lot of oak.
Right.
Because I think it's the purity of the beautiful fruit of this, like plum and raspberry tones to floral qualities that I want that to speak out instead of it being heavily crafted over with oak. But yeah, Grenache has become
that's yours.
I'm sorry, Cab.
It's okay. That's all right. We won't tell. We won't say anything. We won't say a word, but yeah.
Hear that?
I know. Keep it quiet. Keep it on the down low.
It's really exciting to see. Like when I first came here, Bordeaux varietals were the biggest, and they still Cabernet Merlot and Cab Franc are still the big girls that are here. Cab is king, Merlot is queen here, and that has been predominant in the numbers of how much is grown here is those varietals. But over the years, we're seeing so many other varietals and other areas of where vineyards are being planted. And so that's exciting. That wasn't there 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Right.
So nobody was growing Grenache, or not in Walla Walla, but there wasn't much Grenache. There wasn't much Petit Verdot back then. It's really mind-boggling to see how far we've kind of taken everything here in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. Well, I love the experimentation process.
Yeah.
This whole...
and I love seeing so many new young winemakers, especially, women winemakers. And I haven't even saying having to preface it by women winemakers, because we're just winemakers,
right?
But we still have to kind of throw that flag out there.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful to see that there's this whole new body of people that are making wine in a different style than it has been in the last 15 years or so. Like when we started, everybody wanted to make a Leonetti style Cabernet and Merlot, because that was the pinnacle of success and beautiful Washington wine. And it still is, don't get me wrong, but I think that when Devin and I started Spring Valley, and then Christophe Baron with Cayuse, and Charles Smith with Smith Wines, and Eric Dunham with Dunham, we were like the next circle of winemakers kind of pushing that envelope a little bit. Like we were like going, no, I'm going to do a blend. I'm going to do Petit Verdot in our blend, or I'm not going to use so much oak. And so I think that we were pushing it there, to some extent. And then the next level of wine. And so now it's even, so much more out there as far as non-manipulating and doing pet nat wines and Beaujolais style wines, and picking really early and bottling earlier than expect. So I think about that and going, that's like so awesome that we have that generation that's able to do this, and then the consumer enjoying this style of wine as well. And so it's kind of going hand in hand, that where everybody's kind of moving forward and experimenting in this area. We're not, and it's no longer this elitist crowd of wine consumers, and that's exciting.
That is exciting.
Yes, there's some pricey wines out here, but but there's a lot of great wines here in Walla Walla that are still $30 or maybe under $30. I mean, the price is getting up. Everything's kind of
gone up a little bit. Yeah, sure. So could you describe going from harvest to bottle? I mean, how long is that process?
Well, it all depends what wine it is. So let's say I'm doing a white and my rosé. So that, let's just talk about the rosé. And it's a red. It's a Cab Franc. So this is machine picked at probably 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's a vineyard that's out in Prosser area, which is about 2 hours. So it's in a bin. By the time it's in the bin, and then I bring it back here, the grapes are soaking already. I let them soak for about... And because it's machine picked, the berries are already crushed a little bit. So that gets the juice rolling, if you will, and then the juice is then exposed to the skins. That adds the color. Right. Everybody has their preference as far as a winemaker, how long they want to have the juice connected to the skins, and then when they decide to press. I like to have, I'd say, average between anywhere from 5 to 7 hours on skin.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
So my rosé is very light in color, almost as your color of your
overalls.
Overalls.
Wow.
Very light and very, just almost salmon-y color. But that doesn't mean that there's the lack of flavors there.
Right.
Because the juice still, because I like, again, like I said earlier, I like to allow my grapes to hang on for a while. And I know most people are picking whatever varietal they're using for rosé early than later, because they worry about the sugar level, i.e. the alcohol level.
Right.
But I don't care about that. I want flavor.
Yeah.
So with the white, it gets pressed right away. So after it's soaked for 5-7 hours, then it gets pressed, and then it's in tank. Then it gets cold stabilized. It has to go for fermentation. So then all the yeast is being eaten, or it gets eaten up, and the sugars get eaten up, and so all of that, so it goes dry. I like all my wines to go completely dry, so there's no residual sugar within the wine. So that's a process.
Right.
So going back to what I bottle, rosé and any whites are usually then go through all that process of getting dry, and then I bottle usually in February.
Okay.
So that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
So, and they're in tank. So both my Grenache Blanc and rosé do not see any oak.
No oak.
So then now we go back to reds, and so it's kind of the same process. It gets picked, it goes through the crusher destemmer, and then it goes through fermentation. It gets pressed.
But how long?
Usually it's on skins. Usually it's a 10-day process.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So twice as long.
Twice as long.
Gotcha.
And then and that varies too. That's the estimate. And then it gets pressed and goes into barrel, and then it sits. And so depending on what varietal, depends if it gets new oak to neutral barrels and such. So that one I kind of go through with, am I bringing in Merlot? Do I want to have 20% new oak or only a little, so I go through each of the varietals that I'm bringing in and going, okay, I know the Grenache, I know it's from this vineyard, it's very light style, it's not going to see any new oak. So then I have to think about what barrels I have on hand. Do I need to buy any new barrels? There's also this company, they repurpose barrels. They'll take like very neutral barrels that are still quality barrels, but don't bring any
residual
anything, any oak to the program. So they take the barrel and scrape it, and then re-toast it. So I get a new barrel with half the cost, kind of a thing.
Nice.
So I have French barrels that I know that they're really great barrels, but I want to repurpose them so I get another life out of them. Then with my reds, usually they're in barrel for anywhere from 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
Something like, So that's like when you think about capital, it's just sitting there.
Sitting there
and
for a while.
And then it gets bottled, and then I may or may not release it right away. So sometimes, the rosés and the whites I usually release that spring, February into May. Sometimes my GSM or my Grenache, I can do that. It's still, it's a fine line of bottling in February and then trying to push and release it by May. Because that's really only like, a couple months of having a little downtime.
Right. You're like, I need a break.
Because it goes through bottle shock. As you can imagine, it's going through a lot, it's being taken away from it, out of its home of, its safe environment, of whether it's been in a tank or it's or a barrel, and it's put into this larger tank, and it sits there for like a day before I bottle it. It goes through the bottling machine, and it just gets jumbled up, and then it's in a bottle, it's in a new home, and it's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Wow. So what is your next wine? Do you have one coming up? A Cowgirl?
They'll be releasing my Cowgirl Cab next week, actually. The new vintage. So we're having a little party here for that. And then my fall release, I've bottled some sparkling. So that's I've never done that before. So
that'll be fun.
That, along with my new GSM that was bottled in February, that'll be kind of my fall shipment, and then it just
recycle,
keep on going.
Wow, that's exciting. We might have to come up for that.
I know.
I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Well, we're all members of the Stylist Wine Club too, and I bet you Krista will.
She'll probably want to get some. I just did a small amount, so like 100 cases. So most of it I think is going to go to my club, and then a little bit will trickle here and there.
We did see that on your door. There's a Walla Walla Wine Club.
Oh yeah, that's happening. Yeah, this is the last week. They did it for, it's the downtown tasting rooms or wineries.
Yeah.
And we kind of share our club benefits. So if you're a club member from Truth Teller, you can have the club benefits.
That's cool.
All of us here.
That's so awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So you get your, I can't remember, 20% off or 15% off on a purchase, free tasting, that kind of thing. So it's just a nice way of being a community.
Like-minded souls.
Yeah. And the South Side wineries do that situation. Everybody, each of the districts of Walla Walla kind of have that thing going on.
I love that.
Yeah, we do too.
The Ovation Company, in partnership with the Chalkboard Agency, is committed to improving the climate and culture of our schools. The number one indicator for student success is connectedness, feeling like you are part of something. Nothing helps connect people like a good story. After all, isn't a podcast a way to share and collect stories? The Chalkboard Agency's mission is to connect the world of education through the stories that bond us all. To find out more, visit thechalkboardagency.com. And if you have a story to tell that you believe would help young people to be kinder to one another, reach out to the Chalkboard Agency and let us connect you to the world. For all your screen printing needs, trust the local you can count on. Pyramid Printing has been a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.
Specializing in screen printing, embroidery, signs, banners, and stickers. For all jobs, big and small, just give Eric a call.
Email us at info@pyramidprintingcda.com or give us a call at 208-664-0254.
pyramidprintingcda.com.
Yeah,
Well, we saw this morning that we were reading your little bio, and you are a classically trained opera singer.
Yes, I am. No, I feel like, I haven't. It's like an athlete, your voice, it's an instrument, and you have to continually, work at it. And when I went to school in northern Minnesota, and a classically trained singer, and then moved to Minneapolis, started studying, and then when I went to San Francisco, even worked with a number of different vocal trainers, and then sang semi-professionally, but it's always been a part of me. It's always, the mezzo-soprano is here in me no matter what. I can't do the coloratura that I could do years ago, but that's okay. Yeah. But one of the things that kind of connected my world of wine and my past world of singing was squillo. So this is an Italian term, squillo, S-Q-U-I-L-L-O. So squillo is the vibration of, as a musician, especially for a singer, our voice is our instrument, and it carries energy. So when you hit that perfect note and you stop singing, but that vibration continues in the air and reaches you, and you pull it in, and you emote that, and then you give back because that energy was so powerful. Yeah. And to have that within the voice is really just, it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's magic.
Great.
It's magic. So I started thinking about that and how at special times it's given me how lucky that has happened. That's happened to me, and I've been able to share that. So then I started thinking about what it is with wine. And when you taste wine and you take your sip and then it comes back and you're just thinking about it and you have that aftertaste and you keep on thinking about it, going, oh my, and 5 minutes goes by and you're still going, oh, I still am tasting that. And that's, to me, is like the squillo of singing.
I love it.
It's the vibration that is happening here in your, in your taste buds. And I just that light bulb went on for me. I'm like, oh, my two worlds are together.
Yay! I love that.
It makes total sense. I get it. I've had a squillo moment.
Right?
Yeah. I've had a couple.
I have a lot of squillo moments.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, when people are looking for you, they can find you online.
Yes, at damawines.com. And we have a lovely website. All our wines are on there. We are distributed in Idaho, so there's a number of wine shops, Stylist being one that carries us, and we're also a number in Boise, and so we're still small. I don't have that much distribution, so I really try to sell as much as we can direct to consumer, whether they be consumers coming in directly here to the tasting room.
I kind of like the idea of being small.
I do too. I like to work, but I don't want to work that hard.
Yeah.
You still want a life, right?
I do.
Right.
And I love Judith and I love what we're doing. I'm not going to die rich here, believe me, but I'll be rich in monetary means, but I'll be rich in so many other ways. And I have a great team of gals that work with me, and I'm always inspired by them to, I learned so much within my community. There's never a dull moment, and I think that's what I love about being in the wine industry. It's like, I'm not just sitting at the desk, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I have those moments. I'm just sitting there doing my numbers and making emails. But then I come out to my tasting room and I talk to my customers, or I'm out in the vineyard, or I'm, harvest is coming up. I'll be, knee deep in that. Soon. So, or I'm traveling to New York in a couple of weeks, dealing with a women's business event that I'm very excited about.
Oh,
and
cool.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different dots to connect and keep me, being a Gemini, I like.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
A lot of balls up in the air.
Right.
That's
Well,
great.
I think staying small keeps you connected more to your product and your passion.
It does, and I think that's what's special about Walla Walla as well, is that most times, most of the wineries, there's definitely a number that are out here now that are very big money, but still most of us are still your mom and pop. You're going to go into the winery and go, you're the owner. Oh, and you're behind you're working next to the tasting room. We all wear a number of different hats, and we don't have the large, deep pockets. And I save $1 wherever I can.
Sure.
Yeah.
But having those larger wineries that have the tentacles that can reach out farther than I can, is perfect. It's great, because we need that.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows about Walla Walla.
Right.
And so if you have somebody that creates $25,000 cases or more, they're distributed across the country.
Right.
And then people go, oh, what is Washington State? What are they doing there? Where's Walla Walla?
Yeah.
And then they get, they get that little bite, that little sip, and then they're like, we need to go out that way.
Yeah.
And we get people that do that. It's amazing to see that happen.
And it kind of comes back to that whole thing where our experience in Virginia, where, you talk to somebody and they say, oh, you want a really good wine.
Yeah.
You need to go to
Walla
Columbia
Walla.
Valley. You need to go to Walla Walla and really taste a good wine.
I agree. There's not a wine here that won't disappoint. Well, wait, no. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
That will not disappoint you.
There you go.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
Make sure I said that right.
Well, it's very
Yeah,
good,
well.
and you have to come check out DAMA.
Oh, yeah.
When you're in Walla Walla, you're almost on the corner on Main Street, right?
Main Street.
What's your address?
123 East Main Street. You
That's
can't get
easy.
more Americana
That's
than that.
right.
1, 2, 3. Man,
Main
you cannot
Street,
forget
yeah.
that. That's easy. That's awesome.
Well, I know we're going to be back here later
Yeah.
on tasting the squila of the wine.
Squilo.
Squilo.
We'll sing I'll sing a high C for her.
Exactly.
Perfecto. Oh.
Oh, well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. This is such a treat.
Yeah.
Well,
what a delight.
likewise.
Yeah.
And we have to thank you for getting us here, because
Yes.
now, we're going to talk to a few other people and just get to know the community a little bit. It's
Yeah.
a lovely place.
Really.
It is. Walla Walla has a special place in my heart, and I think so many other people. Once they come here, they're like, oh my goodness, what an amazing community.
Yeah.
And our downtown, as you seen, it's so beautiful for a town of 35,000. We have so much to offer here, and from beautiful historical buildings to a park that's across the street that has music on Saturday nights here, and some great restaurants, shopping. You just
Can't miss.
You can't miss it.
Yeah.
And good wine.
And
Already
really
spent
good
money
wine.
at a-
Yeah.
Really good
sure.
wine. I know. I can't wait. I can't wait to have some really good wine.
Yep.
It's a little early.
It's a little early.
It's almost 1:30. Almost 1:30.
Noon somewhere.
That's right. That's what they say. So thank you so
thank
much.
you so
Mary,
much.
really enjoyed speaking with you, and we
Likewise.
love your place and can't wait to be here later.
I know. Yep. So
Well, thank you for
I'm
coming.
Allie,
And I'm Callie, and whatever you do today, make sure it's creative.
and find a little squilo.
Squilo.
The Allie and Callie Artcast is sponsored in part by Tubbs Coffee Roasters, globally sourced, locally roasted coffee. Scraps Barbecue, a locally owned catering company. The Ovation Company, standing for what is right and good. And Pyramid Printing, a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.